Today is Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. And for those of you who are familiar with the rundown, hey, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Well, on this segment of the Gig Geezer, I shared how I earned over $1,500 for actually stringing together a brokered opportunity and a last mile opportunity. But most of the money came on a brokered opportunity, in which I got $1,400 going from actually Greer, South Carolina to Miami. But I use Greenville because that is like the bigger city, or the bigger city that's closest to Greer. Well, today I was contacted by the same broker. In fact, many of the brokered opportunities that I've done so far in 2024 have been with this same broker. But not all inquiries turn out to be actual loads that I completed, and today was a good example of that. This is actually the second time they've approached me on a run going from the Charleston, South Carolina area to the Atlanta metropolitan area to a cartage place that's in the actual city is Ellenwood, Georgia. And today they asked, well, would I be available tomorrow to take a load to Ellenwood? I said, yeah. I told them that I could be there relatively first thing in the morning, considering that it's Charleston traffic, but I could be there in the morning, knowing that if I go to Charleston and go to Ellenwood, it's going to be tipped basically the same as if I'd go to Greer or Charlotte. Now, they told me in the initial message that they would like to be at $400, but they still want to know what my number was. I told them $525. That's kind of on the low end of the numbers that I have commanded for runs from Charleston to Atlanta. Basically, I've gone the numbers that I've been commanding for the past several months has been anywhere between $500 and $600. The $525 was basically the same number that I had agreed to with them the last time I ran something from the Charleston area to Atlanta. And on that particular occasion, I happened to catch a last mile opportunity that took me to Columbia along the way to Atlanta, and it made for a $750 plus day. Definitely made it worth my while, and it covered all my miles that I drove that day. So the guy comes back and tells me they really would like to be at 400, and so I text back and said, how about 475? That was the lowest I was going to go. I didn't get any reply, so I called him and we talked. And in the process, he told me that they actually had somebody lined up at 300, but he says that he was advocating to get me on that load for a number that I guess makes sense to them. Well, a couple of thoughts come to mind. Like I mentioned, this is actually the second time they've approached me for a run from the Charleston area to Atlanta within the past, with actually this month. And the last time they approached me, it was actually for more cargo, like 3,100 pounds, and I told them I can't do it. This one was 900 pounds. And the last time I hauled 900 pounds for them, I did it at a minimum of 450, and it ended up paying like 520. It paid more than what was offered because of what happened in Atlanta. So what's the punchline? What's the lesson in all this? The lesson in all this is that, hey, I go into tomorrow, Wednesday, May 15th, not having anything set up, and so it's a true case of eating what I kill tomorrow. The other part to it is that some may question my sanity for passing on $400 offer driving 290 miles. I've seen two different mileage numbers for this type of a run, a very similar run. I've seen 285 miles, and then I've seen 295 miles. So I'm using the middle number 290. And so I'm thinking 290 miles, $400, that's very low for me. And then I'm thinking about, I would have to deadhead to the Charleston area and then drive 290 miles, which is probably going to be a 5-hour drive, and then hopefully find something in Atlanta, but there's a good chance that I won't find anything in Atlanta, and then drive back to Columbia. No, not for that. Not for that type of money. Not for that distance. Now, then you think about the person whom they say had put up there for $300. So again, you may question me. And there may be some of you who will say, hell, I'd jump on $400 on 290 miles any day of the week. And I'm not mad at you, okay? But then again, you've checked out my channel. Those of you who have checked out my channel, you've seen the numbers that I've put out there in terms of brokered opportunities. In fact, on this segment of the Gig Geezer, I show how I've averaged $2 a mile. I'm somewhere in that corridor, maybe not exactly $2 a mile, but $1.90 and change is what I'm probably averaging now per mile. But if you're not making the money that you think you should be making, it's on you, because you're not asking for the money that you should be making. That's the whole point in all this as well. That's the other lesson point. Now, in this particular situation, we're talking about my dealing with a broker that I've done a lot of loads for this year. So they know what I can do. They know what I'm generally going to be asking for. So it's no secrets. It's no secrets whatsoever. And they know that I'm going to hit them up for additional monies as the situation warrants. Okay? If this were a different broker, I may negotiate differently. But then again, I'm still looking for the most money that I can get in these situations. For example, before the Miami opportunity, I had one on a different broker. It was out of Columbia going to someplace outside of Atlanta. It was 220 miles, and I agreed to a rate. I asked for $400. I asked for $400 on that one. I ended up getting it for $375. They had wanted it to be at $325. And in that particular situation, we didn't actually come to terms the first time we spoke. But then a couple minutes later, the guy calls me back and says, "All right, man, we'll do it for your number." I'm like, "Hell, let's do $400." All right, come on now, man. I can't get $400 on this. We can do the $375. All right. I said, we'll go with $375. That was on that particular run over $1.70 a mile, probably somewhere around $1.75 a mile. Respectable number, nothing to be jumping up and down about. But it's still a number better than what they were looking to try to get it for. And that's the whole point. If you are booking your own load opportunities, and even if you're dealing with a carrier and they come to you, okay, you still have the opportunity to try to get more money. The question is, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to lose to win sometimes? Because I get it, man. It feels kind of funny if you pass on $400, but I've done that, okay? And I know of a couple other folk who I have been in close contact with. They've passed on even larger numbers. It's all based on you. The question is, are you willing to negotiate to get as much money as you can? I mentioned in this segment of the Gig Geezer, all right, you get $1 a mile, but $1 a mile don't mean much, okay? In the case of the person who might have gotten it for $300, going from the Charleston area to the Atlanta area, you're probably looking at 2 tanks of gas at $75, $80. Now, that's half your money right there. you've basically paid them. You've basically paid them to take their load if you take it at $1 a mile. That's my point. That's my point. If you're getting more money, if you're getting like $500, like what I was looking for, well, now you may give up 150, but you're gonna make close to 400. You're gonna make more than what you had agreed to. That's my point there. Now I know that I also know, and I'm speaking to certain people who check out this channel, they're gonna talk about net expenses and all that shit. And I'm more than aware of what my fucking expenses are. I'm more than aware of what my likely net numbers are. But I'll just share it this way. The reason why I'm not so caught up on net numbers as some people is because I learned years ago, decades ago, when I was a poor college student working at a cab as a cab driver. This may not be an exact comparison, but this is what shaped my mindset. If you weren't buying your cab, you were renting your cab on a daily basis. And back then, to rent a cab, it was like $70 a day. When I first started, what I would do is I would try to make sure I covered my rental money, and then whatever I got over was my money. And it seemed like I was never making any money. So what I did was, okay, instead of first driving for them, I drove for me. And so what I would do is I'd target trying to make anywhere between $75 and $100, and anything over, then it went to yellow cab. And that worked. That worked for me. Okay. How does that apply then to owning and operating a sprinter/cargo van? Well, I kind of just shared it. I've shared it a number of times. I know for certain runs, I'm looking for a certain dollar amount. Okay. And if I can get even more, great. If I get less than that dollar amount, then I kind of figured that I'm doing it at a loss. But that's a number that you kind of come to. That's a number that you kind of come to formulate for yourself over time. And again, that works for me. So hopefully you get something out of this. And if you do, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. All right, just for authenticity's sake, within about 20 minutes after I had last documented things, I happened to check the load boards. In fact, I was at the Geezer compound, and I checked the load boards, and one of the brokers that I've dealt with a lot had something where it's a pickup, and it's going to Wilmington. Total miles is 198. It's coming out of Columbia, going to Wilmington, and I got it. I was able to book it for $400 on that broker. Just what I was talking about, depends on the broker. But that just goes to show you how sometimes you have to hold your ground. You have to make your best decision, but it's also based on a lot of other factors. 198 miles is basically 50% less miles driving, but for the same money that the other broker was offering. But that translates into just a tick over $2 a mile, as opposed to maybe $1.40 a mile. Now, again, somebody may have easily and gladly jumped on that one, but that's not one that I was willing to take into consideration. So this piece of cargo freight is coming for me to pick up, and I'll be taking it in the morning from here in Columbia to Wilmington. All right, behind me here is the load that I'm taking to Wilmington, and I'm actually closing out this particular segment of the gig Geezer, and also want to do a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, this load, when it appeared on the broker's load board, showed an offer of $250. When I saw it, I'm like, all right, let's see what I can do. Fuck it, I saw 60 pounds. It was 60 pounds. It was going to Wilmington. I'm gonna bid 400. just for the hell of it. I put 400 in there and it says, you got it. That's how I got it. So it must have had my name on it, because there's no other, I mean, had that been earlier in the day, I probably would not have gotten it, because somebody probably would have bid, shit, 275, maybe 300 on it and gotten it. Somebody may have grabbed it at 250 for all I know. But the other thing is the actual miles. According to the rate confirmation sheet, it shows 213 miles. Although I said 198 because of this being somewhat of a home game, I'm counting from leaving from the Geezer compound. I'll take the hit on the miles today, take a hit on the miles driven today against what I had earned today, and then the miles driven tomorrow is going to count against that $400 earned. So again, the lesson in all this is that you have to know. It's easy to say is you have to know your worth, and that is true. But you also have to know. You have to know your business. You have to know. You have to understand for yourself, because only you can do this, is understand what it's going to take to run your business. Now, it's easy to say, well, it don't cost me much and blah, blah, blah. No. We're out here to make money. And while you, and this is no knock against people, but I'm just going to put it like this. When I see people say, I earned $700 and I drove 750 miles, doesn't excite me. Does not excite me one bit. Or they say that they earned $1,000 and drove 1,100 miles. Does not excite me one bit, because you left money on the table. On this particular opportunity, I don't think that I left money on the table, because the last time I took something to Wilmington, it was a disaster. It was a load from Charlotte going to Wilmington, and I got it for $275, and that was a disaster, absolute disaster, all the way around. It was an L, and I admit to it being an L, even though it showed for a little over $1 a mile and all that stuff. Nah, man, that was a disaster. So that's why I'm always pushing to try to get as much money as I can. So, hey, if anything, if you want a little trick that I use, again, for certain runs, I look for a certain dollar amount. But just across the board, though, I'm thinking close to $2 a mile from the start. I'm asking for close to $2 a mile, if not $2 a mile or more, depending on the situation. I mean, there are runs from like Charleston to Columbia. I'm asking for $325. So that's basically $3 a mile. Duncan to Charlotte, that's 100 miles. That's $3 a mile. The shorter the run, the more money you can get per mile. The longer the run, you're not going to get as much per mile, but it doesn't hurt looking for $2 a mile. If there's anything you can take from this, take that. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome comments in the section below. Alright, so I am actually a little more than halfway to my drop-off location in Wilmington, and I just stopped for gas in a place called Dillon, South Carolina, which is very close to the South Carolina, North Carolina border. Dillon is famously the birthplace to former Federal Reserve Bank Chairman Ben Bernanke. Now, the reason why I'm doing this last follow-up is because I happened to check the load boards this morning. I'm always checking load boards. I'm always checking out the apps. So far, ain't nothing popped up on the apps, and probably won't be because of me driving to where I'm driving. But on the load boards, you just never know. But what I did notice this morning was that same brokered opportunity that I discussed yesterday. Today is Wednesday, May 15, 2024. There's, at least as of 10 minutes ago, based on what's still being shown, what's still being posted on the load boards, because I've seen it on multiple load boards, they've yet to book that load. Apparently, one or two things happened. When the broker told me that they had someone lined up at 300, either that was a head game to try to get me to bite at 400, or the driver came to their senses. The carrier came to their senses and said, I can't do this. I'm paying them to transport their stuff. So the last entry that I saw on the load board was that it was either for a box truck or a van, and the actual distance was 305. The actual distance was 305 miles, and they were offering $350. Still less than what they had approached me about. So you can, again, you may question my sanity for passing on it, but I like to think now, almost a day later, I don't look as crazy, I don't sound as crazy as I may have come across yesterday. You got to remember, if you claim to be running a business, run it as a goddamn business, okay? And that doesn't mean you paying the broker, or in some cases these apps, to move their shit, okay? Ultimately, they're paying for the service that we're providing. And ultimately, at least in today's technological configurations, they still need us. So that's all I have to share for this segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm in Wood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle